welcome inside the Parc Fermé for podcast number 695. Paul, I'm choking. I can't breathe. It's the Spanish Grand Prix review. You know where it came from. Barcelona! That's right. Finally, we get the Spanish Grand Prix review. I'm excited about it. Podcast number 695. So we're going to review that. Before reviewing that, I do, it's kind of how I go. It's, I have to introduce my guest, right? And he's going to help me unpack this race, this exciting, rip-roaring race, all the way from down south in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. You know him.
Ripped from out of the wasteland. He's bad, he's beautiful, he's crazy.
Hello, everybody. This is Paul Charsley, the International.
It's Paul Charsley. Paul, how are you doing?
I'm good. I don't know. You just took your mask off, man. You're really frightening me.
Get this mask back on there. Sorry.
We're about 1,000 miles away from each other. Is that far enough?
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm not sure with the rules of Formula One right now. I'm not sure that's even far enough.
No, it probably isn't.
If Will Buxton standing on his own in the middle of a empty grandstand still needs to wear a mask, I know the question.
I know.
Must know something.
I'm just going to tell you, Will, when you're the only dude in the grandstand and you're outside, go ahead and take the mask off, man.
Yeah, please.
Sorry. Yeah. I'm the only dude in the basement. I'm the only dude in my office. I'm going to take the mask off, Paul.
Yeah.
Why not?
There's
Have we reached
reality,
ludicrous?
and then there's ludicrous speed.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Just if it makes sense, it makes sense. But
the broadcast is even socially distancing the microphones. They're like this far away from the microphone.
I know. What is that?
Hello! Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. I don't. The little furry microphone, maybe.
Yeah, those are called dead cats. But yes,
dead cats. Looks like a dead cat.
Yes.
Yeah,
it's crazy. Hey,
maybe
Paul,
the drivers are frightened it really is a dead cat.
Well, it might be. Valtteri was killing wildlife this weekend. He hit a bird.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's never good. What are you imbibing, Paul?
It's just a Blue Moon. It's an afternoon drink.
Yeah, it is
something light and fluffy.
Hey, Christian, happy birthday! You're welcome. You know how many of these I buy, and these aren't the little boys. These are the big ones. All right. Come on, man. I pay Max's salary, basically. All right. Come on.
It's a bit of an addiction, though.
It is. It's my caffeine.
But you also have to get Ralph Lauren to send you stuff.
He should. They should.
Your whole wardrobe is Ralph Lauren.
It is. It totally is.
Yeah.
It's. Paul. What can I say? It's a timeless classic. Okay.
You can say that.
Do you know what I look like? I look like an idiot wearing just goofy concert T-shirts. It's.
Well, that's no different than anybody else.
It's just not, you want me to wear my David Lee Roth of 1987 tour, the skyscraper tour?
Your Target Star Wars shirt. How about that?
Oh, I could do that. Well, see, I thought you would like this.
Yeah, I always like.
I wore this for you.
The Union Jack. Thank you.
It's great. It says Great Britain on the back.
Oh, that's
Are
good.
you British?
Yeah, I was.
Oi!
Yeah.
I was once. Like we cured you. That's crazy.
No, I'm not cured.
Paul, did you
I
get
still
the?
Say taco.
You do say taco. My daughters love the fact that Paul pronounces a taco. They just
Once again,
love
it's taco night tonight. Just to make them happy.
It is taco night. Yeah, I know. Paul, did you get the Spanish Grand Prix from Barcelona? Did you get that watched?
Yes, I did. It filled in the time before I saw the NASCARs racing on the Daytona road course.
Did you see the MotoGP wrecks?
I didn't. I see pictures and that looked terrible.
That was terrible.
Yeah.
Ooh, not good.
Yeah, it's weird because, did you ever see the MotoGP sim race? I know you didn't, but they had all these crazy crashes in at the beginning.
Yeah.
It was like, man, it looked like just one of those. That sim racing's got it nailed.
I missed that.
Yeah, I know you did. But it looked
frighteningly
similar to one of those ones that everyone was laughing at while they're watching sim race. But,
It did.
Yeah, just glad everyone's okay, that's for sure.
It's a tough race this weekend, Paul. Talk us through it.
Yep.
All right, so here's what I want to talk about.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for coming. Anyway, hey, this is Todd.
No, Todd, not now.
aka negative camber. You know why you are here.
You must convince the villagers that I'm harmless.
That's what I need you to do. So tonight, Paul and I are going to review the Spanish Grand Prix, folks. I promise we will get to it. But we're going to start with the track first. And we're going to talk about this circuit in all its glory. I saw a heap and helping, Paul, of negativity about the Spanish Grand Prix and the track and everything else on social media. And let me just throw this caveat up front for all of you listening out there. I really didn't think it was that bad of a race. Everybody was like, oh, it's so dull. It's desperately dull. It's terrible. There's no passing. I don't know. Am I starved? I feel like at this point, maybe I just don't know what the hell's going on. I'm carrying Formula One around, trying to big it up and trying to get it to where it's going. At this point, I'm, clueless. I feel like Hodor at this point. I don't know what's going on, but I found it not the most riveting race I've ever seen, but I didn't find it the worst either. I thought there was some interesting strategy unfolding, and I couldn't stand the tire management. I hate it. But it is what it is.
It is what it is. Yeah, I didn't mind it. I mean, things have an ebb and flow. There's a good race one week. There's not so exciting the other week. It's just the way our lives go, and so does sporting events too. So there's no need to freak out about it and start calling for change and sprinklers and all that kind of stuff. So it's just, Barcelona's just, it's a track that all the teams know really, really well. They get all that. They pretty much can figure their cars out without turning a wheel there when they arrive, and all the teams kind of slot in where they're going to slot in with their performance. And with the aero rules as they are, it makes it hard, and you just kind of have to live by that. So but they're not used to driving it on these temperatures, Paul. No,
and that was really hot, so much so Valtteri Bottas got out of the car and said, I don't know, man, I'm all for the cause, but these black racing suits have got to go, man. I lost 3 kilograms of weight just in that race, and it is kind of amazing that it didn't dawn on them that those black and those dark suits, racing suits, they absorb more heat. And apparently they had a new homologation of a new overall, and they're a little thicker too. It didn't bode well.
Okay.
But Paul, seriously, running 2 hours, hour and 45 minutes, losing 3 kilos of weight just in perspiration and sweat. At some point, Paul, that's gotta. I mean, I make light of it now, but your body physically trying to, sweat that much and lose that much weight. I mean, you could see where you'd end up being. Like Lewis said, hey, I was in a daze out there. Well, maybe that's because you're losing so much damn weight.
Maybe. Yeah, he's got less weight to lose than Valtteri, doesn't he?
I know.
So,
he's got like 0.00001% body fat.
Yeah, obviously I've never raced a Formula One car for 2 hours or 2 minutes, really. But anytime you're out there in really high heat, can be taxing before you even know it. And you got to keep your fluids going. And any little bit of taking off of dehydration and everything can really take away from your focus and takes away from your speed in the race. And obviously it was bothering him quite a bit, because otherwise he probably wouldn't have mentioned it over the radio. So there was kind of a lull in his proceedings. I think pretty much he'd kind of taken his lot and where he was going to end up, and then he started thinking about other things, and that was probably the first thing that came to mind. But it's a black car, black suit. They might want to rethink that.
Yeah, right. I mean, when we got out, he did look rode hard and put away wet. He did, look pretty brutal. They had the tire issues at Silverstone. They were coming into this weekend. Mercedes had a lot of homework to do. Apparently, they looked at it, wasn't a lot to do other than tweaking their setup and the way that their chassis was set up and downforce and those kind of things. But didn't run into those problems this weekend like we saw in last weekend or 2 weekends ago. At Silverstone. But the track, super hot, ambient temperature hot, makes it a difficult race for sure. The track itself, Paul, not a lot of passing. I think one of the drivers said there's really only one place to pass, one corner, and if the car ahead of you gets a good launch off the apex, you're pretty much toast. And so a difficult track from that standpoint. But you do have DRS.
Yay! It fixes everything.
It sure does.
Really spices up the show.
It sure does.
Yeah, I mean, with the deal with management of your power and if there's a limited areas to pass, then the driver in front can kind of manage that pretty well and save up his power for when he really needs it in that place on the track, and can just kind of let that other vehicle kind of wash around in the undertow, so to speak, behind him in the other corners. So make it hard to do it like 20 laps in a row. And obviously we did see some passing out there in some different places. So
on the
you can
outside.
do it as long as you've got a good tire differential, etc. So there was something going on. But yeah, like for like, probably very difficult.
Yeah, I agree. Let's talk about the race. So let's start with how they finished. Mercedes, Lewis Hamilton, P1, Valtteri Bottas in P3. Bottas was a little slow off the line. I've seen some people say, oh, he had a bad start. I don't know that it was like a horrible start. I think just everyone around him had a good start too, or maybe a slightly better one. He may have got a little bogged down in the beginning for sure. But Red Bull and the Racing Point cars got a toe off of him down that long straight, that first long straight, Paul, and he ends up losing 2 spots that made the remainder of the race really a recovery race to the podium. I read Mark Hughes's race report earlier this morning, and he put it much better than I did. He just said that Valtteri got a slower start and then tried to move over behind Lewis to get that toe on his teammate, but when he got over there, Max was already there. But by moving over to the left, he opened the right door wide open for Lance Stroll, who got up around him, and Perez nearly too.
Yeah. He punched a big hole with 2 cars being side by side.
Yeah.
So Lance was, got a double draft kind of
Yeah.
feeling.
Right. So, and then then it was a recovery drive to get to that podium. Bottas got around the Racing Point of Stroll, but spent the rest of the afternoon trying to run down Max Verstappen. But the change to the used reds left him without the pace to close that 6 or 7 second gap that Max pretty much held that entire stint with those used reds that Bottas was running. Now, Toto, I saw after the race, he praised Lewis for his deep instinct in knowing to tell the team he didn't want the red compounds and to stick with the mediums. And it's, I guess in one sense, I understand what he's saying, that Lewis, knew that intrinsically, and that's fine, but you're kind of implying that Valtteri didn't. Which is unfortunate. And maybe he didn't. I don't know.
Are you telling me this Mercedes team is a bit biased towards Lewis? No.
I'd never suggest that. No,
I don't want to start something here.
No, I don't want to start any conspiracy theories or anything. No, but it's unfortunate because, Lewis, he's a champ, and he just knew that those reds, weren't the way to go. Except you just put them on Valtteri's car, know. So it's unfortunate that happened. And I understand that, but you're suggesting that Bottas didn't have the ability to know if the red tire is the right choice. Or maybe, Valtteri, in argument against that, you could say that maybe he's just trusting the team to make the right choice.
Right.
And it's coming at a bit of a price when they don't get it right?
Yeah, certain drivers are a bit more, like Max, etc., and Lewis are a bit more aggressive with calling it from the driver's seat, and maybe Bottas isn't that way and doesn't question things so much, which kind of plays out when you see how the races have run, right?
Yeah.
He's not one to stick a fly in the ointment and get everyone riled up and try pushing everything, so he just kind of goes along with it and figures that's probably good enough. But those little things can change from being a winner to being
third.
Being third, yeah.
In fairness, Bottas boxed 2 laps earlier for those reds, and it wasn't. I was thinking, well, maybe they did this to put those reds on to see how they'd last and to see if that's what they wanted to put on Lewis's car. But he only stopped a couple laps before Lewis. There wasn't a lot of time to tell whether those reds were going to deliver the goods, a lap or two. So who knows? It was weird. It's compound gate. I don't know. Lewis established the lead right out from the onset, took pole into lead, he lapped all but the top 3 runners. Yikes. And he never looked back in a completely dominant performance that slapped the grid like a drunk man making inappropriate comments at a pub.
Yeah.
Not like you've ever been that guy, but you know what I mean.
Right.
The upside was that Merck didn't suffer from the tire issues they had in Silverstone, although there was a moment that it looked like Lewis's right rear. Did you see that moment? They ran that slow-mo, and I couldn't tell if it was pickup or a blister. I couldn't tell.
I mean, I don't think it was anything too dramatic at all. It was just they needed to talk about something. So
yeah.
I don't think it was a big deal the way. I think he had it fully covered. It was interesting that. Yeah, I mean, that's what everyone was hedging their bets on, that Mercedes was going to have a repeat from Silverstone. And obviously Toto was even playing that up, right? He's like, woof, I don't know if we can even stay with Max and the Red Bull for this race. And it's like, into the distance. So
oh my gosh.
It just shows you, as we've always said, it's not just about, that the Mercedes engine is great. It's that team is great. And they've analyzed the car and they figured out the solution of what they had at Silverstone and they fixed it.
Yeah.
They could have more problems as the year goes on, for sure, in different circumstances. But I think it was a big kudos to that team for moving so quickly and solving an issue that seemed like it was a doomed failure with the heat of Barcelona.
And then Toto went down to Christian and said, bring on the heat. We're fine. Yeah. Sort of rubbing his nose in it.
Speaking of Toto, did you see, I mean, we were playing around with the mask earlier. It's like at Silverstone, did you see the little clip of him riding on the back of the scooter without his mask on?
Oh,
yeah. So he had his Mercedes. He was riding shotgun. There was a girl riding the little mobile scooter, another guy to the left of him, and he's talking to her over her shoulder when he doesn't have his mask on. And then this week, same thing. Toto's talking to Gasly on the grid with his mask completely off. It's like, man, you've broken the biodome. Ross is going to not be happy with you right there on TV.
No, you don't want the wrath of Ross. He may have Adam Parr write a book about you, and that wouldn't be good.
Oof, no one wants Adam Parr to write a book about you. Jeez.
It's the worst.
God knows what would come out. Yeah.
Don't get me started.
Yeah.
Paul, it was interesting because it did look like, there for a moment that the Red Bull was running 0.5, 0.7 seconds behind the Mercs. But then once they told Lewis to hit it, he dropped the hammer and was a second and a half lap quicker than Max.
Right.
I was like, holy cow. Does anyone have an answer for that?
But interesting that Bottas couldn't drop the hammer.
Couldn't equal it, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was anyway. And that certainly seemed when Bottas went to those tires and he was within 7 seconds, it was just a matter of time. But Max was obviously doing an impeccable job in the car on older tires, and Bottas couldn't do the job in the car he had.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting for sure.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Red Bull. Alex Albon P8, Max Verstappen P2. Max had a good start, followed the tow behind the Mercs, and swung into second place ahead of Bottas and Stroll. There was no crafty alternate tire strategy, so he had to make the most of his race, and that's what he did despite having reverted back to an older power unit, which is clearly slower than the Mercs. Nico Rosberg was saying up to a half second slower, the older ones. At that point, he knew he didn't have the pace for Lewis. That was clear when Lewis put the hammer down. It was like a second and a half, and at that point, Max was like, oh, hell, there's no way. And at that point, he told the team, he kind of scolded them. They were saying, well, there's the delta to Lewis. And he's like, forget Lewis. He's not even we just focus on our race and keep Bottas behind us at that point, And that's kind of what they ended up doing. Just making sure they managed their pace, kept that 6.5, 6.7 seconds between Bottas, who was on those used reds, and made the most of it. It must be said, I think Bottas was trying, but I think Max did a hell of a job at keeping that gap. Yeah. And even, at the beginning, did a pretty good job at keeping that gap to Lewis until Lewis put the hammer down. But, all things considered, an old PU is a good race for Max.
Yeah, I mean, he's the only guy keeping Mercedes honest or even close to it right now. With the Ferraris not even challenging, right? Max is literally a lone soldier to fight those guys. So he's doing a mighty job. He really is. And the car can't be that far off. So I think, he doesn't have the backup of his teammate right now. And that makes him look even better on paper, I suppose, as the only man be able to fight Mercedes. So, I mean, for him to have the wherewithal to not just throw everything at trying to beat Lewis, I think is a smart move. Learn when you need to fold them and when to hold them, kind of thing. So the the good thing is Max is keeping himself in the fight and in the points, so that if there are some tracks that maybe the Red Bull can make up some of that deficit, he may be able to gain some in the points. But right now, that World Championship's looking pretty much a lockdown already, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. Do you think, because a lot of the press and Sky Sports were saying that they felt that Red Bull's race pace, there wasn't much between them and Mercedes on race pace. Qualifying, yes, Mercedes clearly dominant, but on the race pace, they thought that they were thereabouts. Did you feel that way?
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, more likely, yeah. I mean, no one's staying with the qualifying pace of the Mercedes, but I think that's their only shot. And I think we've seen that in some of the races in the past. I mean, it's not going to happen for every race, and obviously it didn't happen here. But they're the only ones with Max driving within a shot of having the same pace as them. And, you know, if Mercedes are pushed, they do have some weak spots that they exposed. The Red Bull just wasn't there enough to push Mercedes into not being in fully control of their weekend, which obviously they were certainly with Lewis in the car.
Right. You mentioned alone. Alex Albon's struggle in qualifying was really laid bare when he left his teammate in a Merc strategy sandwich. But the switch to hards was the wrong call. And I'm unclear as to why they did that unless they were testing the lap times as an option for Max. I don't exactly know why they went to hards, but I mean, why else run the hards, which were 1.7 seconds off the pace according to Pirelli? I guess you could try them out, and if they prove quick enough, then maybe it would have worked, but it didn't, and that's not necessarily Alex's fault at that point. He wouldn't put in the hard tires on his car. At this point, it does seem like, though, Paul, that his struggles at this point seem like a little bit like Leclerc said his struggles were last year, which is just down to tire management. You know, he can't get the tires to work for him. He said he couldn't get grip from any of the stints he was on. And, you know, yeah, it makes me concerned that the clock might be ticking for him, but I kind of feel like, you know, it's difficult to make those hards work.
Yeah, but I mean, Alex's problem came with where he starts, right?
Yeah,
I mean, qualifying is the worst thing. And then if you're not on pace with your teammate like he isn't on pace with Max right now, it kind of opens you up to be an experimental lamb, doesn't it, really, for the betterment of Max, because Max is the guy that's scoring all the points.
Right.
You're back there fighting it out with the midfield pack, and if you're doing that, you're not really doing Red Bull any good, so you may as well just help them solidify where Max is finishing rather than anything else. So
right.
Why that is, I don't know. I mean, the stints in the race, I think, aren't the important factor. Is the fact that he's putting himself behind the 8 ball every single time by not being able to pull it out in qualifying, and he really needs to do that. Is at the end, I could see, you know, Red Bull aren't the most patient of teams, and it would be interesting if Gasly would even want to move back up to Red Bull. I don't know if he would or wouldn't. You know, I think, you know, you move yourself up there, and if the team's fully behind Max, does that, you know, are you risking the credibility that you've built up? I mean, I think Gasly's done a great job, and, you know, it's a risk, but, you know, you want to be in a faster car, right? And we know the Red Bull's faster than the AlphaTauri. So Albon's definitely got to watch his back. I think, I don't know what happens at Red Bull. You know, they don't seem to nurture very well.
Yeah, I know, and we've argued that in the past few podcasts, but you made a good point when you asked me about that, about Gasly, and I got to thinking about that. You know, if I'm Pierre, I know what the pressure is at Red Bull, and I know what the expectations, and I know how they treated me, and I know what it's like to have a team solely focused on Max, and right now he's making a name for himself at AlphaTauri.
Right. And
would you be better off trying to convert that really good performance that you've been doing to securing a ride at Renault or at, you know, Racing Point or McLaren or somewhere else? You know? Yeah,
I mean, you got to figure out what does Gasly in his head think what went wrong the first time, and has he fixed it, you know? Because was it about him trying to drive a car that's built for Max, or was it about him falling into the pressure and trying to do things that he shouldn't have been doing? And has he kind of reconciled that? And does he feel like, okay, now I'm ready? Now I can handle it, and now I know what the expectation is. He may be. I mean, maybe thinking that. I certainly like the way he's been driving, and I still think Albon is a really good driver, but for some reason in that Red Bull dynamic can make some guys flourish, but can really hurt someone else's career. And usually it's because they rush everyone up. I mean, how many guys have been rushed up and been sent right back down?
When Alex came to the team mid-season last year, he was driving better than he is now. And he just got there. So there wasn't all this pressure. There wasn't all this second guessing. There wasn't all this stuff going on. But clearly now this is all weighing on him a lot. I mean, I would advocate just being patient with Alex. I think he'll get there. I think his tire his management's going to get there. And I do really like this kid. I like the way he passes. He passes on the inside. He passes on the outside. Doesn't matter to him. He gives enough room. He's got punted by Lewis twice. It wasn't him punting. He wasn't pulling a Kvyat where he just drove into everybody.
Right.
Alex, gives room where I think he's a really good driver, and I just think Red Bull's got to be patient with him. Moving Pierre up right now gains you what? More points? Yep. Removes maybe the possibility of AlphaTauri scoring points or scoring higher than it should. And to your point, does Pierre want to go there? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, what point, as you say, what is the point in it? Because Red Bull under pressure? They're not really under pressure to finish second in the championship. I mean, Ferrari aren't pressuring them. They're as much as Mercedes are going to finish first in the championship, Red Bull are going to finish second. So
yeah, that's right.
So
they're not at risk.
They're not at risk. So is there a rush? No, but that doesn't stop Helmut trying to stir things up because he can.
Micromanaging. All right, let's talk about Racing Point, your favorite team, because we're going to talk about Lance Stroll.
I want it now! What's the matter with those twats down there?
You're pulling a Nico. Yes. And Nico was at the race.
How do you get on that screen anyway? How do you get on there?
I don't know how you get on there. I don't want to be on there. I don't want to be on there.
I think you should be on there. I want to see it.
Go, Lewis!
Maybe Grace should be on there with the cats.
Grace would be good.
Have little cats in each hand.
Did you notice Nico Rosberg back in the broadcast seat?
Yes.
I saw his little Instagram. I saw his little Instagram post where he was with Crofty, and it was saying, "Hey, everybody, tell Sky I should be doing more of this.
I need
looking
the money
for a job. I need the job." Yeah, I saw that.
He honestly. He does
well.
He does pretty good.
Yeah.
He knows how to analyze it and stuff, but he's just a little bit annoying.
Yeah, he's a little awkward when
his personality is just a bit.
Yeah, it is. And when
Sky Sports is the best ever.
Yeah. When Martin called him out for running wide at Monaco, that pissed him off. He said, "Yeah, well, we're not going to go there, Martin." Oh, we're not? Racing Point, Sergio Perez. Yeah.
You like my pace? You like it?
Heck yes, we like your pace, Sergio.
Welcome back, Sergio Perez.
Yes, sirree. He looked COVID in the eye and kicked its butt. Way to go, Sergio. P5. Lance Stroll and P4 Racing Point realistically knew that they wouldn't challenge the Mercs. So
they're
really,
not allowed to.
Did you just say that? You'll take our wind tunnel car, you'll copy that car, you'll put that on the grid, and you'll finish right behind Lewis.
And if you're ahead, you get a pit, Sonny.
Right. Yes, Toto.
Get down.
Toto's like this maniacal, tyrannical leader of this empire. He's,
Pretty much.
That's funny. All right, so Otmar said, "Look, we qualified fourth, fifth. If we can finish in fourth, fifth, we'd be happy." That's what they target.
Yeah.
That's exactly where they finished, and so he knew that. Bit of a shame for Perez. He made a masterful tire managed a one stop. So he had a masterful one stop strategy that really worked, and he's known for fantastic tire management. He did that. Got him up to fourth, but he lost that place for ignoring blue flags. And I'm trying to figure out, Paul, if he had ignored blue flags for 3 corners and was holding up Lewis, okay, that's kind of the rules. But all we were shown was that one event down the long front straight where he was there and Lewis had to kind of come up behind him and go around him. I don't, if that's what they gave him penalty for, I'm not quite sure I understand it. There's got to be more to the story than that.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, was it the previous corner that was
Yeah,
the third
right.
corner? I don't know. I mean, I think he did a good job of doing what he needs to do. I don't think certainly on not that long straight, that he needs to pull all the way to the right-hand side of the road and wave Lewis by, you know?
Right.
I mean, it's ever since I've been racing, if you're getting passed by somebody, you know, if you're getting lapped, not that I was ever lapped,
No.
but never happened unless it was like a mixed class race or something. But you have to be predictable. That's right. When I come up to lap people, you want them to stay exactly on line,
Right.
and you position your car to get by them. You know, you're already a lap ahead of them. I'm pretty sure you're fast enough to be able to outbrake him into the next turn.
Right.
And it seemed pretty much that's what happened. So I'm not really sure what they want Perez to do. But I would, if I was Lewis, I don't want him to start pulling over to the right and because I don't know what you're doing or where you're going. You need to be predictable. So I'm not really sure what that was all about, unless, as you said, it was something we missed. It was
got to be something
three corners
we missed.
behind, which is really tough when you think about that series of corners.
Yeah,
to
that's
get
a
out
real
the way
Mickey Mouse
there.
complex.
Yeah, I mean, it's unreasonable.
You can't
I
just
think,
disappear.
You get out of there, and you're literally in that section, Mickey Mouse section, as Brundle rightfully calls it. You know, you picked up a whole another car's tires worth of rubber on your car,
Yeah,
and
for sure.
that would kill you for at least 2 laps. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
It didn't make sense to me either. I'll have to go back and look at Lewis's onboard because I didn't understand what the penalty was for. Right. His misfortune, you know, I'm not suggesting that, you know, his misfortune is no indictment on Lance Stroll. Lance had a great start, fantastic start, and was, you know, the lead racing point, and really only lost out to Perez because Perez made his one-stopper work. So securing 4th is a terrific achievement for him, and he drove a very good race. So kudos to Lance. I thought he looked terrific out there. Wasn't doing anything, you know, crazy. Managed his tires the way that he needed to do it. The duo, actually, he and Perez had a good scrap for position a few times with Perez trying to get around him. Because Stroll was on that 2-stopper, and that, you know, that made that inevitable when he had to stop for that second stop. Perez got advantage of him. I guess that also says a little bit about Perez, though, too, Paul. Perez is on a 1-stopper, Lance on a 2, and Perez was out front and made that 1-stopper work. You know, yes, you know, Stroll had to pass, but he had fresher tires, you know, and Perez still held it off. So kudos to Lance. I thought he had a great race.
Yeah, it was a rocket start. I mean, rocket start, and it paid him back tenfold by being able to move that far up in the race right there at the beginning. And yeah, both those guys did a great job, and it was fun to see them fight a little bit. You know, Lance got a little cheeky.
Yeah, he
didn't fight Bottas as hard for some reason. I'm not sure what that was, but well, actually we know. But yeah, no, it's great that they're up there and they're managing it, and I guess, the 2 different strategies ended up being nearly on the same piece of pavement in the end. So neither driver can complain about that. But yeah, I still love the way Perez manages tires. It's still a phenomenal, and still I don't understand it from watching Perez inside the car, that style saves tires the way he does it.
So what do you think it is, braking or throttle?
I don't know. I just don't know. I think he keeps the car lively, so he doesn't, you know, I think he just does it by keeping the car really neutral and doesn't work either end to any length of time, because usually it's the rears are gone or the fronts are gone. It's rare. And so I think he maximizes the front and rear of the car, and that carries him full through
a lot less sliding.
Well, I think he slides a little bit. Because, you know, we seem a little busy in the wheel, but I think it's the neutrality of the car, because usually someone's going to wear out the left front or the rear tires. But I think because he keeps the car balanced always, that he lengthens both axles so he can do more laps, if that makes sense. Yeah. Even though that's how he's able to keep up the pace, just by keeping the car very, very lively and neutral.
You think Sergio would like do you think he would like understeer more than oversteer?
No.
He'd rather have a
think
little oversteer, right?
A little pointy car, and he can control that. Yeah, that's what I would say.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm thinking.
Right.
That's very much like Vettel. Vettel hates understeer.
Right.
Yeah.
So does Kimi.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, let's talk about McLaren. Oh, McLaren.
Nice, Ron.
Carlos Sainz, P6. Lando Norris, P10. Lando had a tough start, lost a couple of positions, and then engaged in a recovery drive back to a single point. Lando said it was hard to pass, but to be fair, he did a good job of holding Leclerc off for several laps, and I thought that was actually fun to watch. That proved fun. Lando said that there's only one corner to make good pass at, if the leading car gets a good exit, you're pretty much toast. And that's a shame because he felt that the car had really good pace, and he should have been much higher in the order, but he just couldn't make the passes, couldn't get the passes done. And I was really struggling seeing how well Carlos did to see Lando struggling as much. It's a little bit of a reversal of what I thought I'd see.
Oh yeah, I mean Carlos always has a good race there.
It's Spain.
Yeah, it's Spain. He didn't have any fans, but he usually actually just does well there.
Yeah,
it's a track that suits his style, I guess. And
right.
the difference between those two isn't very much in distance on the track. It's just in the result and in the points. Yeah, absolutely. But that midfield, if you're a little bit behind, and it's true you can't pass, then it can be the difference between 3 or 4 places without there really being a big differential in your actual pace.
Right. Right. Carlos had a terrific race, and while he wasn't quick enough to beat the pink cars, he put on that second set of soft tires on, and Carlos sighed through the field, and then that late stop on the two-stopper, and he made that last stop for mediums, and it was a real stroke of strategy gold, and got Carlos all the way up and delivered him into P6 and a great points haul for McLaren. So I was really happy to see that. He looked really planted. That strategy played out perfectly for them. He was able to capitalize on that strategy. When they did that second soft run, I mean, he made it work, and he had a lot of people to pass, and he did,
Yep, so people can pass there, is what you're saying.
Yeah, Carlos can.
Thank goodness for DRS, that's why.
Yeah. God, I love DRS.
I'd like to thank the baby Jesus and DRS.
Yeah, right. Right. All right, let's talk about Ferrari.
This is Enzo Ferrari.
Oh, boy, Enzo would be disappointed.
Enzo is not happy right now.
He's not happy. Yes. The spirit of Enzo hovers over Maranello, shaming. Charles Leclerc, Charlie had a DNF. Sebastian Vettel, a P7. Both drivers ran long stints and pitted later than their immediate rivals, and Leclerc put on mediums to make it a one-stopper, while Vettel, who started on mediums, switched to the soft tires. Leclerc's race came to an end when his power unit stopped, and he loosened his belt before he refired the car. And then once he got the car refired, it looked like it was going to run, but then his belts were loose. So he had to box, and by the time that it took a long time to either get those cinched back up, but Ferrari said they had an electrical problem, there was an engine issue, and they retired the car.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. And we all sat going, really? Wow.
Rookie. Don't ever undo your belts.
Never undo your belts.
I guess he was ready just to jump out of the car, huh?
I guess.
Yeah. The battery pack and refire it, so I don't know why he gave up on that, but I think they just gave up on it. At that point, it was... I think
they just gave up on the weekend.
I think they did, yeah.
It's terrible.
They'd packed up by the time Vettel came back in. The catering truck had already left.
Yeah. Oh, Mattia was in the bath already. Woo! With some sangria or Chianti.
Yeah, just watch out. Some of them drop a head there and then. Yeah.
It's just such a disappointing performance from them. It's just, and everyone knows I'm a Ferrari fan, so this is, it's very, very difficult, but I call it as I see it. Look, and here's how I see it. I'm very frustrated with it, and I'll just tell you why. As a Ferrari fan, Vettel was the lone Ferrari left, and after Leclerc was out, there was like radio silence, and all of a sudden Vettel radioed asking for an update, what they wanted to do in this stint and what lap times. And Martin Brundle called it exactly right. He said, wow, that was kind of a call to say, hey, you remember me? I'm still out here running. And Martin's absolutely right. That's kind of what it was. Seb was asking for strategy calls, tire windows, strategy updates, or time. And the team told him initially, he said, okay, well, go, push. And then after several laps of pushing, they said, well, what do you think about going to the end? And making it 38 laps on the old Reds.
Yeah.
And Vettel said, well, this is what I asked you, quite a while ago. If you'd have told me that, I wouldn't have just pushed and chewed up the tires. I would have managed the tires differently. It's just this is not, Paul. Help me,
okay?
Paul. Help me. This is not Ferrari, damn it. This is not what they should be doing. You wonder why Mercedes is beating them with a club about the head and neck. This is why. It's this kind of stuff. Mercedes doesn't make these errors. And you're starting to see McLaren not make any of these errors, and people around Red Bull not making these errors, and Ferrari just said, "Oh, Charles is out. I guess that's it." You got another guy driving out there in a multi-million-dollar car who's won 4 titles. Could you work at getting him to the end?
Yeah. It's. I mean, to some degree, Vettel's earned that a little bit, but it doesn't matter if you're Ferrari. You don't give up on either of your cars. You cannot afford to do it.
No.
You got to turn this boat around as quickly as you can. You got to maximize the weekend, no matter who's in that seat or in that position to fight for. And it was, when you're a driver, you go get put on the tires and you're given a plan and you drive to that plan like Perez does, right? And you manage the tires to that plan, but you can't call 10 laps in and then change the plan. That's really, really tough to do. And I think Vettel did an impeccable job to actually get something out of it at all by them changing. But also, it's okay, I think, to change the plan and give it a go as well. So I'm not all against Ferrari for making that call. I mean, it's like they're like, well, he seems to be Vettel was actually pushing that strategy because of how well he was keeping the pace.
He was putting out good lap times,
right?
Yeah.
I mean, normally I think they were expecting that the tires would fall off, but Vettel actually did a great job in managing the tire and gave the team an opportunity to make that call, I think.
Right. Yeah, but you're right. I mean, when you really look at it on balance, Ferrari is 5th in the Constructors' Championship.
Wow, I haven't looked at that. That's pretty bad.
5th.
Yeah. That's
know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Yeah, it's not good. Not good. And you don't get out of 5th place by pulling weekends like this. So kudos to Seb. He has every right, to be frustrated with the team. And I get it. The team's frustrated with him, and they didn't re-sign him and all that stuff. But this is like the world's longest divorce.
I know it's tough. Yeah, it's horrible. I mean, it's horrible for everyone in the team. But it definitely seems, you think, it could go 2 ways, right? Seb, this is what we're doing at the end of the year, but let's just make the best of the situation.
Right.
Or, it's kind of like Patty and Claire, when they walk in the room. Oh, hello,
Hi,
Seb.
Claire.
Oh, it's like, it seemed uncomfortable over the radio.
It did.
Right? I mean,
Yeah,
in general, and it definitely seems anything you hear from Seb, in the media or whatever, it just seems like it's a really unpleasant working relationship at this point, and I'm not sure like it's the end. I don't know. Why would
they parted ways with Kimi, but it wasn't this awkward.
Right. No. I mean, Kimi doesn't make things awkward generally.
No.
But I don't think it's being handled very well. I think they're shooting themselves in the foot by kind of writing him off and just kind of trying to work through the rest of his days at work. I don't think he's built that way where I don't think he wants to do it that way, but it seems like within the team, the culture and the atmosphere is not conducive to him doing well for the rest of the year.
Yeah, it's brutal. Just brutal. AlphaTauri, Daniel Kvyat P12, Pierre Gasly P9. Daniel lost a place at the start, even though he was on the soft compounds. Danny had a good battle with Ricardo. That was kind of fun to watch, actually. And he had some pace, and he was passing. And I actually enjoyed watching he and Pierre during the race. I thought they were looking pretty racy out there. So he had a good battle with Ricardo and the Ferraris, to be honest with you. He said that his tire usage wasn't good. He was battling midfield. And I'm wondering if, I don't know that Daniel is a horrible tire manager. I'm just wondering, look, battling midfield on a track with no passing is probably a recipe for wearing out your tires,
Right.
So he probably chewed through them a little bit, just trying those battles and trying to keep that position. But so that kept him out of the points in P12.
Yeah, that car looks good.
It does. Yeah.
It looked good there anyway. I mean, I could just see
agree.
it when they could pull it down to the apex whenever they wanted to. It was really went exactly where the drivers wanted to be. And I think Kvyat just kind of started a little further back than Gasly, and so we had to fight a little harder to get up there.
Yeah.
He was attack mode, and I think and because he didn't get what he needed to do when he really attacked, I think it started taking the sheen off the tires there a little bit.
That's
because
what I'm wondering.
Fighting someone like Ricardo or something, they're not going to make it easy, right? So
Yeah.
and
Vettel wouldn't have made it easy either.
He made a couple of good attempts, but didn't quite come off. And as soon as those couple of really opportune attempts come and it doesn't work, then you're pretty much on the back foot at that point. And luckily, Gasly was a little further ahead, and he could make a bit more of that car. As I said, looked great. Turned into corners, mid-corner speed looked amazing. So a very handy car to have at this track anyway.
Yeah, well, Pierre, like Danny, he was on a two-stopper too. He had a good start, and he definitely had pace enough to keep those around him honest and claim points, narrowly beating his rival inside of Red Bull, Alex Albon. But, he's been doing that lately. Qualifying him.
Isn't that the best sight picture for him? Is like pulling up behind his old car. I mean, that's got to be he's got to be smiling right there.
He's got to be saying, boy, it looks like Alex is having trouble with qualifying. Clearly, I'm not. Very tough. But it was a good race for Pierre, too. Got up for a couple of points for AlphaTauri. And it was a good race, and very much like Kvyat. I thought he had some really good passes, and he was out there making it racy. I thought the car looked good, relatively planted. I realized both cars weren't in the points, but on balance, I thought it was a pretty positive weekend for him.
No, I think so, absolutely. Yeah. And as we talked about, Gasly before, I think he's really being consistently quick, and Kvyat is just a tick off of him.
Yeah.
And in that midfield battle, that can be 3 or 4 positions. But Kvyat is pretty close to Gasly as well. But Gasly just kind of like how Lewis does the Bottas. Yeah. It just does enough to always be just that little step ahead.
Right. Speaking of not doing enough to be a step ahead, Renault F1, Esteban Ocon, and P13, Daniel Ricciardo, P11. Cyril played host to the Renault CEO, Paul, and this wasn't a good race to ask the boss come in and see your super awesome, well-managed racing team as they were beaten by a customer. So Cyril's like, hey, boss, come and see our look at my racing team I've put together. Isn't this great? And then your customer beat you handedly.
Yeah, let's hope the croissants weren't stale.
Not good.
Not very likely, no.
Both Dan and Esteban gambled on a one-stopper. Both failed to make it into the points, but that was foreshadowed really on Saturday, Paul, when neither of them getting into Q3. So they started in the back. One-stopper didn't work. Chassis didn't like that one-stopper. The one-stopper proved a bridge too far for Renault. They pretty much hit that cliff edge. Both of them did with the tire performance. Their pace fell off sharply after that towards the end of the race, and there was just no recovery. I'm sure the new Renault CEO was really impressed with what Cyril was able to deliver. I'm sure.
Hopefully Cyril was playing him with champagne, so he...
Yeah.
Don't worry about what's going on out here. This is nothing. Yeah.
It's a good top 10, wasn't it? Hey.
Let's see. We won a couple of world championships with Fernando Alonso.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Right.
But but the Renault's been looking pretty good recently. But
it had been
not its track, and the strategy isn't help either. So Probably a lost leader for their season, I think, at this point.
Oh, for sure. All right. Alfa Romeo, Kimi Räikkönen P14, Antonio Giovinazzi P16. Kimi raced in his 59,000th-ish plus mile. I can't remember the exact number, but it's over 59,000 miles in F1, making him the driver who has raced more miles than anyone else. And it showed he had a better weekend, finishing in 14th. Paul, that would be, as Crofty said, that would be driving around the equator twice.
Is that right?
That's what
That's what
Crofty said. And don't doubt him, because he's an avid runner.
Yes, he is.
Every single broadcast, I got to listen to him about his regimen of running, and it's like, dude.
Yeah.
Really?
Let's see some payback here. Yeah.
Yeah. How's that working out for you, dude?
And every time he comes back, he eats 3 pizzas just to celebrate.
Yeah, it's like, you aren't what you are just because you say you are. I just want to put that out there. Let me just say, I go and run stairs at the local football stadium every single day, but I would never go out into the world and tell anyone, "Oh yeah, I'm a runner." I'm not. I'm just doing that to keep the heart going and all that kind of stuff,
Right.
But I wouldn't come on every broadcast. Well, when I was out running, blah, blah, blah. It's just not what I do. Anyway, there you go. There's my rant. I'll get off the soapbox.
I thought we were talking about Alfa Romeo.
No, we're not. We're always talking about people telling me about what an athletic and active lifestyle they lead. And I look at them and I'm thinking, it can't be that active. It just can't. Yeah. I don't make any bones about it. But so, Paul, tough race for Alfa Romeo. Talk us through.
I live a very healthy lifestyle.
You do, because you went all keto on us.
I did.
Now you're below your sparring weight. You probably weigh what you weighed in junior high.
Pretty much.
And, you run, you're out there running, you were swimming, you were, keeping physically fit. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
But see, you don't come on every episode and talk about it.
No, I don't. Anyway, back to Alfa Romeo, which there's not much to say there. I mean, struggling obviously with the Ferrari power plant. 14th is maybe a good weekend, but it's not a good weekend, right? I mean, it's a better weekend for them, but it's nowhere near where they need to be. No. And Kimi, it's a shame. I mean, Kimi's, still doing a good job. He still has a right to be there if he wants to be there. I mean,
I agree.
Bernardzi, not so sure, but
I think there's room.
I don't think he's done
to
enough.
Move there.
There needs to be a spark there somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't know who's in the background, but I'm not sure he's really.
Well, I think you should look at Crofty.
Yeah.
He could fit in there. He runs a lot, Paul.
Okay.
He's fit. He's ready to roll. Put Crofty in there.
He runs in a black suit, just to lose.
Yeah, that's right. He runs in a black suit and loses 3 kilos every time he does. It's crazy. That guy's a fiend, a running fiend. Where are we down to? Haas, F1. Kevin Magnussen, P15. Roman Grosjean on P19. Kevin battled to keep Ocon behind him and tried hard to make something out of his 2-stopper. That didn't really work out for him, Paul. Roman tried to make his 1-stopper work, and it looked like he might, but then they boxed again late for softs, and that put him at the back of the grid. Gunther said that they were trying to find some magic, but the magic didn't work. And that's a real shame, because they seemed to have better pace on Saturday than what we saw on Sunday.
They had great pace, and they didn't know why.
Right.
Once again, on Sunday, they didn't know why either.
They didn't know why. We had the magic on Saturday. We don't have the magic on Sunday.
Just because it's magic, it's not hard work and crunching the numbers. And
somebody get a calculator over there and figure out why.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah, it's tough when you get down to these teams, because, what can you say?
I know.
Hopefully they get their day sometime this year. Hopefully the magic comes back alive. But it did seem very hopeful with the Haas car. But when they say they don't know why it happened, then you start to doubt whether they can keep that up.
I think that's the challenge that I'm having with Haas, Paul, is that it's one thing to be off the pace, but they've been off the pace now for a couple of years, and when you ask Gunther, it's just like, well, we just don't know why. And even when we watched that series on Amazon, he's not just blowing smoke. I mean, I don't think he literally doesn't know why.
Right. Well, that's why you need to change something in the team to get someone who does know why.
Because you can't keep doing this and not know why.
Right.
And I have to think, and I guess, and I only say this because I'm not beating Gunther or the team up. I love the team. The team's great. I'm just worried that Gene's gonna say, well, what am I doing?
Well, I think that might be part of the problem too, that Gene doesn't know what he wants to do. So it's not like you can start firing people and hiring new people to bring in something different. You're just not even going to go there. You're just going to kind of let the season roll to an end, right?
Yeah, you're right. And it could be a knock-on effect from that. So if Gene isn't investing, he's not thinking long-term, it's very difficult for Gunther to get the resources that he needs to figure out why he's off pace. And that, it could be a knock-on effect that I'm not looking at. So in fairness to Gunther and the team, I just hate to see it because I really wanted to see at this point just copy the damn Ferrari. That's what Racing Point did.
I don't know if that. No, they copied the fast car. You don't want to copy a slow car.
Here you go. Yeah. Copy the Racing Point.
Yeah. There you go.
Then we could say, well, we're 2 steps away from the Merc.
Yeah.
We didn't copy Merc. Yeah.
Even made our own brake ducts.
Yeah, make your own brake ducts, right? That's it.
Make sure you do that.
Right. And now we're down to Williams. Yes, Sir Frank. Williams didn't have the pace to get amongst the Haas and Alfa Romeos, so they were left fighting each other at the back. George started on softs and got by Grosjean early on. Nicholas finished 2 laps down, Paul. 2 from Lewis, and that was the extent of his day. That was a lonely old race for Williams.
Yeah, not good for them. Let's hope. Russell's been a shining light occasionally, at least in the qualifyings, but it's still better than it was last year. That's all I can say. And maybe not every track is really going to help them. And so let's just hope the next one, which is what is the next track?
Belgium, Spa.
Belgium. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So hope for better things.
Yes, exactly. All right, let's give away some awards, shall we? The first award we always give away is Pass of the Race. Who'd you have, Paul?
I had Daniel Kvyat on Daniel Ricciardo.
That was a good pass. I mentioned that in my notes.
Yep. I said he tried hard, and Danny doesn't make it easy, and he finally got it done. So it was a fun one early on in the race, but I enjoyed seeing the dynamic of Danny really attacking. So it was good.
Yeah, that's good. I had that on my list of notes. I'll go with Alex Albon on Kimi on lap 14. I thought that was a good pass. I enjoyed that one. Alex had a few good passes on the day. So did Carlos, but and Alex's weren't all DRS derived. He was passing on the outside, so I thought that was good.
Great.
Are you ready for another award?
Oh, man, I love the awards. That's why I bought my black suit today.
I like it. All right. Well, the next award is Donkey of the Race. Oh, a circumspect eye cast over the paddock. Who did you pick? Donkey of the Race.
I can't pick the closing ceremonies every time, unfortunately.
No,
I should, but I'm not going to. Oh, I've changed my mind.
Who?
I know it's the F1 TV pre-race group. I know you watch the ESPN version, right? Basically,
I do.
Yes. They weren't doing that, but they weren't even keeping socially distant. Quite honestly, that was a funny thing. But just a bunch of lame ducks, quite honestly. Spouting things that they didn't know anything about, like the one guy who was with Alex Brundle was like, they're saying the soft tires are going to go to 19. There's no way those can't even do 15 laps, and there Vettel proves he
30. Vettel went 38 laps.
But it's just the banter and the information they bring in that pre-race show. Don't like it. There's a lot more they could be doing with that. It's very much like a Sunday morning, getting the coffee. Hello, Joe. Let's talk about the day kind of piece, And I don't have the ESPN feed, so I'm sure the one from Sky is way better. But I'm pretty disappointed in the F1 TV crew and what they're spouting out.
Well, that's not good.
Sorry.
Well, not everybody can be Martin Brundle and Crofty,
No, they can't.
unfortunately.
Who you got?
The next time one of our listeners wants to accuse us of being biased, this should say it. I'm picking Ferrari as the donkey of the race. That was just a pathetic weekend. That was bad.
Yep, many errors and no speed.
Yep. So there you go. I'm picking Ferrari, and everyone knows, just so you know, I'm a Ferrari fan. See? Yeah. That's Schumacher there on my wall. That's my hat. I got a Ferrari hat here. I got Ferrari tags over here.
You like it, a Ferrari?
I like it, the Ferrari. Yes. So it's not easy for me to do that, but I got to call it and be fair and be balanced, and that's what it is. So there you go.
Be fair and balanced. You do that.
I am. I'm being fair. I think Lewis had a fantastic race. It was great. I think he's won this championship already, and Ferrari is out to lunch. So there you go. All right. Well, then that leaves one award, and that's always the drive of the race. All right, Paul.
You got the moves.
Oh, yeah, I do. Yeah, I really do.
Well done.
Yeah,
well done.
Thanks.
Drunk dad at his daughter's wedding dance. That's great.
Yeah. It must be the Red Bull.
Yes.
Why, thanks for asking, Paul. I always enjoy a Red Bull with my podcast. Yeah, go
yes,
ahead.
you do. Yes, you do. I'm going with Vettel. I thought Vettel, even
That's what I
though
picked.
he's in that lumpy Ferrari, to get that call so late in his run and to get that speed out of that car consistently lap after lap, which is what he had to do on those really old tires. I thought it was a phenomenal drive, quite honestly. I know, some people have been doubting, why is Vettel drive the race? Was because you could give it to Lewis, sure. I mean, Mercedes were team of the race, but I think as a singular thing with everything Vettel's battling and some of the things that happened already this year for him to put in that performance, actually, I thought it was a great deal.
Yeah. No, I picked Sebastian, too.
Really, Sebastian is crazy.
He's crazy, Paul.
He is crazy.
Oh, that's who I picked.
Can I go
Crazy to
for a
stick
week?
around.
Yes, Seb, you can go for a wee.
Now you can.
Yeah, all right. Fair enough.
You've got mail.
Shall we do some mail?
Yes, I love mail.
Well, let's do some mail. Eric says this, Paul. Hey, Eric.
Okay.
How you doing, buddy? Thanks for watching and listening. He said, hi there. Just discovered your show. Awesome. That's great. He says, I'm liking it a lot. That's even more awesome that you're liking it a lot.
Go
Most
figure
people
that.
don't. Yeah, most people don't, Eric. You're in rare air.
Oh, come on now.
I have a question for both me, Negative Camber. If that's your real, it's not my real name, Eric. My real name's Todd.
Positive Camber is his real name. He hides it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, there's no Camber in my name, although my wife does like being known as Mrs. Camber.
Yeah.
So anyway, as well as Paul, when looking at onboards from an F1 race, what are you focusing on? Or to put it in another way, how do you know when a driver is struggling with a particular aspect of the car? Is there a method to analyzing the onboard shots? To me, it seems like all I can consistently take from watching them is whether they can get past the guy in front or not. That and whether or not the tire has blown, I guess. Anyways, keep it up. You've gained another listener. Well, Eric Van Klinken, thank you so much for listening. It's awesome to have you as part of the TPF community. And Eric, honestly, I think that is a fantastic question because I've asked Paul this. Paul is a professional driver. He'll see and watch onboards. And then I know Grace and I have asked him about particular onboards and what he's looking for and those kind of things. And if you're not a professional race car driver and you do watch those onboards, how do we know? Well, the first one is certainly a lot of this, a lot of steering input, a lot of seesawing. And we may see a lot of that, but Paul sees that and it completely tells him what the car is doing.
Right. So
Paul, unpack that.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I hate the seesaw line.
Yes.
It shows it doesn't mean anything. It's called a correction. The correction they're correcting the balance of the car with the steering wheel. They're not doing this,
No.
to do something to the car. Because I've actually ridden with people sometimes their first time on a track, and they start doing this in the middle of a corner. I'm like, why are you doing that? Well, that's what they do, right? No, this is a reaction to what's happening in the car. If the back end is sliding out, you're actually correcting where that back end is sliding, and that's what they're doing. They're correcting an imbalance in the car with their steering wheel. So you look to see where those steering inputs are occurring. As we've kind of talked a little bit about, I talked about a neutral car earlier today. So you'd look to see when those steering inputs stop, and how much steering input has the driver put in, and where is the trajectory of the car through the corner. Because if you've got a really neutral car, you'll see not very much steering input, but you'll see the car actually still towing that perfect line, and the driver actually coming back to straight even before they've exited the corner, because the car is at a neutral balance, and it's kind of just
sliding
eating
right off the apex.
Yeah, not completely sliding, but it's just totally balanced front and rear. That's what you want to see in a car, right? I'm listening for engine notes. When are they picking up the throttle, and are they having to adjust the throttle in the middle of the corner? Sometimes you see the Mercedes kind of pick up the throttle mid-corner out and just keep on going.
Yeah.
Other cars have to wait before they can go back to that much throttle. So you're talking about how that rear end is gripping.
You're looking at braking points, right?
Braking points for sure. As I said, steering input at the beginning of the corner tells a lot. It's not just about correcting the slide. It's like, are they putting in more input than every other driver, which means they're picking up understeer, and how they're dealing with that understeer, etc. So there's so many things that comes in. As you say, braking points, steering angle, where that steering angle and where those corrections are happening in the turn.
And you're watching you can kind of tell when they've rotated that car. Right.
So if they and you can tell when they put in a quick steering input and the car kind of takes that turn, that they're very comfortable and confident in the car. If you see a driver maybe turn the wheel a little bit slower, and just because they're just not sure what the car's going to do at that moment in time, so their confidence isn't there because the grip isn't there, and a driver that's experiencing a very loose car will probably do that, turn it a little bit slower, and just kind of then have to chase the rear end all the way out. But you really want someone who's very confident with the turn in, where the car takes the input but doesn't overtake the input and start rotating the car, and then be able to pull that steering out really early in the turn and feed in that power really in the turn. That's a car that's really working well.
And the whole point of that is to get the tires back to straight so you can give her full beans.
Exactly. The straighter the car is, the faster it can go. That's why drag races go 300 miles an hour, right? You're trying to get that car to that neutral balance, that straighter line as early as you can, so you can carry all that speed to the next corner.
And if you can hit that apex and get those tires straight, it's full beans.
Yep. I mean, that's what Prost was always, his goal was.
Yeah.
He wanted to be at full throttle at the apex. The only way to do that is to be straight at the apex, right? And if you're coming off the apex and you're still seeing some steering input as they're coming off, then that car has got some issues that need to be addressed.
I remember seeing that, and I think it's because you pointed it out on Massa, where a lot of times he was still trying to give steering input as he was applying throttle.
Right.
And that made it a very difficult proposition for him.
Right, he's asking the car to do two things at once. You should be, if there's a blend between steering angle and speed, so you should effectively be unwinding the wheel as you're applying throttle. But you start applying throttle before you're unwinding the wheel, then the front end of the car doesn't have as much load on it, so you're actually inducing understeering to the car.
So that load's going to the back of the car.
Right, and taking away from the front.
Taking away from the front, right.
So just right when you need those front tires to be turning, you're taking some of that grip away from them by accelerating. Yeah.
Right. Great point. Eric, I hope that helps. I hope that helps on what to look for. It is a fantastic question, and it's one of those questions that newer-ish viewers to Formula One a lot of times ask, what am I looking at when I see that on board? And I see them putting the steering input, or see them do this real quick. They're catching their rear end, or they're turning more and more and more and more because they're getting understeer. It's so anyway, hopefully that helps you. And what Paul looks for, because Paul has coached Grace and I on that and what we're looking for. So now we kind of know better, how the car's behaving anyway. Let's see. Our very own young Thomas asked this, Paul. Tom, the Firth of Fifths.
Tom, hey, he was at a British GT race this week. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
that's
nice
exactly
to see.
right.
He got out in the open and saw a race for real, except on TV. Which
No, good for Tom. He
Yeah.
deserves it. If
he
anybody
does,
he deserves
he loves it, man.
He loves racing. So, and Tom runs our F1 chat on Twitter. So, all of you out there on Monday nights, check out hashtag F1 chat. And Tom is based in the UK, so it's UK time or Central or Greenwich Mean Time.
Yeah.
So anyway, Tom does a great job of that, so check him out. But Tom had a question, and I thought it was good, and I thought it'd be good to ask you, Paul. In our lives, he says, if we get fired from something, it's generally with immediate effect. How does a professional athlete in F1 or really most other sports cope with the idea they've been shown the door but expected to perform at an elite level for perhaps several months? Sebastian Vettel is the obvious current example of this. It's kind of different when they leave on, or at least partially on their own terms, as that is a sort of like an extended notice period, I imagine, or even if they have some knowledge as to their next destination, it kind of helps in that situation.
Right.
Does it all just come down to the same compartmentalization that drivers do every time they got on a hot track? I don't know the answer. I just wondered if you guys had any thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, for me, people are people. Everyone. Drivers aren't robots. They're affected by their environment as much as anyone else. Yeah, they've usually got a big ego driving them. You have to be able to do what they do and beat everyone they've beaten up until the point they've got to Formula One. So two things. You got Daniel Ricciardo, right, and Vettel. Both are leaving their teams at the end of the season, both living very different lives right now.
Yeah. And to his point, because Dan knows where he's going, Seb doesn't.
Dan knows where he's going. It's his choice.
Right.
It depends on how the team reacts to that. But Daniel, I think his personality invokes from the team that they know he's not just going to kind of call it in because he's going somewhere else. He's there every week, every hour, trying to push to get the best result he can, no matter whether he's going to be with the team just for 3 months or the next 3 years. And I think a driver can keep the team involved in that way. Now, Seb, obviously the history with the Ferrari thing is a lot more complicated in what he was supposed to achieve when he got to Ferrari and what actually transpired. And, the bloom definitely fell off the rose a while back with Seb.
Sure.
And I think it's just kind of spiraling down, and the Ferrari team are known to kind of cast their ex-drivers aside before they're even done with the season. And it's really difficult to work within a team in that environment and still achieve results. I mean,
Right.
Ultimate Seb's goal is to still do the same what Ricciardo's trying to do, which even though I'm leaving, every race I want to achieve the maximum. But I feel from what we've evoked from Ferrari is that they're not necessarily allowing that to happen, so to speak, because they've got their golden child. So, and Seb's in a different part of his career too,
That's right.
as opposed to Ricciardo. So it really is dependent on the team, on the driver. How can they battle mentally against being beaten down every day,
Right.
and how can they raise their game and maximize their performance? As I said, they're not robots, and these will affect their ultimate speed on the track, even if it's subconsciously, it's going to happen. So,
Right.
you just got to kind of try and get as much out and literally every race and every session.
I
as the
suspect
last one.
if Sebastian really desperately wanted another ride in F1, he might be managing this situation a little differently.
Yeah.
I don't know that it's the end of the world if he doesn't have an F1 ride.
I don't think to him it is, and maybe
I
that's...
don't think so. He's got 2 kids. He's made a lot of money over his time. He's probably a pretty handy saver and investor, and I just don't know that. At this point in his life and this season of life, I don't know that it's into the world.
And then the problem is, where can he go that he can relive his 4 championship season?
Right. If you weren't going back to Red Bull or you weren't going to Mercedes,
right? You're just really spending another couple of years, and for Kimi Räikkönen that's fine, but
that was
for
fine for
Vettel,
him.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of feel like maybe Seb would much rather do another racing series or something, maybe.
I don't even know if he would.
But I don't know if he would do that either. Unless he was
Yeah.
doing LMP1 Le Mans, I don't know that he would.
Yeah, I don't know what he likes the history of cars. I'm not sure he likes
does.
what the way the state everything is in racing at this moment in time.
No, I don't know that
Yeah.
he does. I think he likes
Yeah.
the older cars, and I don't know. Yeah, it just wouldn't surprise me if he hangs his helmet up and says, "That's it, I'm done."
Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me. But I would say if this was Carlos Sainz, if it was Pierre Gasly, if it was something, look at Pierre. You know he wasn't happy at getting sent down,
Right.
but he didn't have a full blown come apart.
No, because he's still
He wants the job.
he's still shooting
That's
up.
right.
With
That's right.
Seb, he's kind of like, well, I can tread water for a couple of years and then I'm done. And
Yeah.
and honestly, I don't foresee him making the whole season because I think
Yeah, I
he's
don't
going to
know.
get to a point where what am I really doing this for? And when you start
Yeah.
questioning that in your head, you shouldn't be doing it.
Right. Yeah, because everything else then at that point it's just the risk reward
Right.
just becomes all risk. at
Yeah.
that
I mean,
point.
he hasn't even got
There's
a
no
chance of
reward.
winning a race right now.
No,
There's not even a chance,
Right. There's no
That's just-
reward. So
No.
and he's got 2 kids at home. I mean, if my occupation right now is 100% risk or 90% risk, what's the point?
Right.
Anyway, that's what we think about it. Great question. We hope you enjoyed this podcast and this review of the Spanish Grand Prix from Barcelona, and I hope you enjoyed listening to Paul and I talk about it. But you can talk about it if you go to theparcfermé.com, share your opinion, just do it with decorum and civility. If you like the podcast, go over to iTunes, give us a good rating, and if you really like the podcast, and let's be honest, you do. Because you're listening, right? If you really like the podcast, tell somebody about it. Share with a friend. Introduce somebody else. Let's grow the listener base. And if you love the podcast, you can support the podcast at our Patreon site. Go to theparcfermé.com, and on the right-hand side, click on the Support Us at Patreon, or you can do it through PayPal too, your choice. You can do it for as little as $1 a day, because we would not and we could not do this podcast without your support. So without the support, there is no podcast, folks. So keep that in mind. If you really like the podcast and you'd like to support it and keep it going for your listening pleasure, feel free to support us.
Then you can join in the GP fantasy game too, being a Patreon
That's
member, which
right. That's
You are
right.
number 1 with a bullet this week. Wow.
Man, this week I nailed it. Yes, so did Skip, though.
Yeah.
Over at Kingsbridge BCP, our title sponsor. Skip did a great job, and he's keeping a great running tally over at his website. So anyway,
I'm
check
glad.
social media.
I really appreciate Skip calling me out that, how far I dropped this week. That was
Way to go,
that's
Skip.
not
Keep
cool,
the pressure
Skip.
on, man.
Not cool at all.
Yeah, so anyway, I did make a big gain. I'm slowly gaining progress up in 12th, so
Yeah.
not
nice
bad.
job.
So anyway, yeah, we're having a lot of fun with that over at Kingsbridge BCP, the TPF Fantasy GP League, too, so you can join us in that. So anyway, until next week, when we come back to do it all over again, this is Todd saying so long.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.